Let's be honest, 99% of people want to lose weight. And if your why is to lose weight, you need to let your body fat fuel your ketosis. You don't need to be piling a stick of butter onto a ribeye and drinking coffee filled with MCT oil, butter, and cream, because that will have you gain weight rather than lose it.
You can get too much fat.
100%. When I test people's blood, when they are adding a stick of butter to a ribeye and they are not athletic, they are not lean, their triglycerides are going through the roof, their blood sugars are getting worse. If they're already a type 2 diabetic, they're needing more insulin. So it is not safe. It is not healthy. It is not what I would recommend.
What I love about how you've talked about it on other mediums is you kind of talk about it in a very ancestral way. You're like, if our ancestors were eating meat, they wouldn't go and try to, create butter and find a stick of butter to put on it.
No, they didn't have a butter churner. And if you think about wild game, it's all very lean. We didn't have the luxury of just choosing the fatty ribeye. We did not have the luxury to just choose the ribs. And there's this theory that we gave the lean meat to the dogs. No, we did not. We did not do that.
We wouldn't have wasted that.
I had the great pleasure to go to Africa and we were on a safari, and all of our guides said that their favorite animal was a wild dog because it's very rare to see. We were lucky enough to see a wild dog run in front of our car and kill an impala. Do you know what the first thing it ate was?
I can assume organ meats.
Yep, ripped the organs right out. That was the first thing it did, and then it ran to get the rest of its tribe, and they devoured the rest of it. I just find it interesting that this carnivore community, they just talk about eating beef, bacon, butter, eggs, and they didn't eat that way. And if they saw a strawberry patch, they weren't like, ooh, I'm a carnivore, I don't eat that.
I was just talking about that. Like, if anything, the anthropologists are now coming out saying, like, we weren't one specific diet. We were opportunistic. If there were strawberries on the ground, we ate them.
100%. If somebody wants to lose weight, it's like they're not putting together that your body fat can be your fuel for ketosis. And it can be, but you have to let it. So I use fat as a lever. I always ask people, what's your why? If your why is to lose weight, we're going to turn that fat lever down. If you are doing it for epilepsy, seizures, Alzheimer's, I'm going to turn that fat dial up, because that is the only reason why I would check somebody's ketones, because a higher ketone number does not mean better fat loss. It usually means the opposite. You can put MCT oil all over white rice. You're going to gain weight, but you'll have higher ketones. But someone who has epilepsy or seizures, Alzheimer's, it is a big deal, and ketones do matter. So I would definitely turn that fat dial up.
So what is the difference for you between the keto diet and carnivore? I always saw them as very different, but some people are kind of seeing them as similar. So how do you see it?
I see carnivore as an extension of keto. So you have ketosis, and carnivore is just one extension of that. And I do think it's kind of an ultimate autoimmune protocol. If someone is very sick that comes to me with a lot of autoimmune diseases, I would go to a carnivore level 1. We do these weight loss challenges and we do meal plans for them, and the groups love it. They just gobble that up. And so Craig does these meal plans that are ketovore, and then we have a carnivore meal plan. Guess which one loses the most weight despite the macros being the same?
Carnivore?
Mm-hmm.
The ketovore?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is?
When someone wants to lose weight, I cut out dairy. I think people that do the carnivore diet, they consume quite a bit of dairy, including butter, cheese, all of that, because it's already a very limited diet. Where if I open it up a little bit and include things that don't have a lot of anti-nutrients in them, but they add a lot of flavor to food, it's all about compliance. And when you can comply to something that has more flavor, because you can't have the dairy in either of them, the ketovore usually does a little bit better. I have like a Wendy's Frosty that's all protein and has a little bit of sweetener in it. People love it. And it's a great way for them to hit their protein macro without adding fat.
All these women that are now following the carnivore diet, but you're seeing that, well, how they're portraying it is not how you would portray it. So do you just identify the issue with how these diets are being talked about by the majority of people is that they think that it's a free-for-all with fat? Or are there other issues around how these diets are being portrayed?
They're being portrayed that as long as you eat carnivore, everything will get better. You will lose weight, your thyroid will heal, you will not need medicine anymore, which couldn't be further than the truth. In all honesty, I work with a lot of young women who are in their reproductive years, and when they go carnivore, despite eating plenty of calories, they often lose their cycle. And I think it has something to do with gluconeogenesis. Parts of your body do need glucose, so it will use the protein to make that glucose. We don't have to be like, oh, protein's turning into sugar. That's what is enabling people to eat carnivore and eat keto. However, it's a very demand-driven process, a very hard process on your body. And I think when it's going through that, other parts of your body say, I don't think I should have a baby right now.
Yeah, it's almost like what diet you're feeding yourself is informing the rest of your cells how to respond, really, right? If you're putting your body under that strain, other biological systems are like, oh, okay, I'm going to shut down because clearly they're not in growth mode or they're not in build mode or whatever it is.
You know, they say as long as you eat carnivore, calories don't matter, which I think is really funny. I heard someone have a conversation saying, oh, I think it's the carbs and the heavy cream. That's why I'm gaining weight. I'm like, no, it's the calories. It's the fat in there, right? It's ridiculous to think that it's like the minute carbohydrates in a scallop or in an egg that's causing the weight gain. It's not true. It's going to be all of the calories in that cup of heavy cream that you just consumed. My husband's a scientist, and I think that's what helps us grow and help people more, because we did get caught up in the dogma, you need more fat and less protein, right? Because protein turns into sugar. That was the thought. He was all about like, we need to test people's blood. We need to find out more, and realizing that no, more is not better, especially if they're in its lipo-toxicity. So most people only have a certain amount of fat cells. After about toddler age, you don't grow more fat cells. You just make them bigger. You fill them or empty them, right? It's called like the Asian paradox, where people in Asia, they often can be thin and still have type 2 diabetes. I've worked with a woman who was 105 pounds and had type 2 diabetes. She was so bad she was having strokes. And she said, we're such a vain society. I wish that I would gain weight when I cheated, because I don't. I think I can get away with his diet or just eating all the sugar, and I can't. What people don't realize is that fat has only two places to go. It's either going to go to storage or you're going to use it for fuel. Only about 8% is passed through the stools. If you had any more than that, do you remember Olestra, the WOW chips?
Yeah.
You would have anal leakage. This is not a good thing. So it has two places, storage or you're burning it. Most people are not exercising like they should or moving their body like they should. So most of it is going to storage. And when those fat cells get stuffed, insulin is like a net holding everything back. And I can't hold it back anymore when those fat cells are getting stuffed. That's going to happen with excess amounts of fat. So I just want people to be aware of that. I'm not saying eat no fat. I'm not saying that. But putting butter on top of a ribeye is excessive if you're not already lean.
If you enjoyed the clip from the podcast, make sure to check out the next video up here, or head over to watch the full episode down here. And before you go, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Come on. Yeah, thanks for watching.